Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat, so you can use an entire bottle to make recipes like buffalo chicken dip or buffalo nachos, or even things that don't start with buffalo. Frank's Red Hot, I put that on everything.
Hey, Craig.
Hey, Jeff. Oh, shit. Winthrop just hit another 3. And the game's already over. How'd they do that in my office?
That should not be possible.
How the hell did that good kid get in here? I don't even have a three-point line set up.
I know.
Why is there a ref holding 2 hands up? What the hell?
Yeah. The funny thing is, like, honestly, it meant nothing on a practical level in terms of the outcome of the game. But, God, it was annoying. Good Lord.
It was so annoying. So annoying, and you're getting it very fresh right after
very
the game
fresh.
ended, right after Jeff just wrote his recap here on
Yeah.
Podcast versus Everyone, episode number 148. I'm Craig Powers. With me, as always, is Jeff Newser. And, you know, normally we talk about the football game first, but we just watched this Winthrop game and Winthrop WSU basketball game, and it's fresh on our minds. And this is as close as you're going to get to like an immediate reaction from us, because we don't really like doing that, but we're going to do it anyway. Although Jeff is probably a little more measured because he's written the recap and everything. That always kind of calms you down, you know.
That is true.
But yeah, that was I sent you that, and I tweeted out that screenshot. I went through every single of the 26 possessions in the last 11:43, because it's like when they're saying, when you see something, when they had one field goal in the last almost 12 minutes, you're like, oh my gosh, like how many points you would expect to score over that time? Well, they scored 24 points in those 26 possessions, which is not great. And well below what they were doing, but also they made 1 2-pointer in the last 11:43 and still scored 22 points. And even before the foul fest at the end, they were still getting to the line over and over again, because Winthrop, and Bryce talked about this in his preview, is very aggressive, and they overplay, and they force the refs to call fouls. And you could be mad about all the fouls, but they went in WSU's favor more often than not, because Winthrop was the one fouling. And you know, WSU had a lot of cheap ones where they were literally just bigger than the other team, and the refs, I guess, felt they needed to call a foul, where Deshaun just turns around and the guy falls over, or Gay can stand on 2 feet and not even jump and grab a rebound, but apparently that's over the back. I don't know. So there was some crap like that, but yeah, like they didn't, and like you said, like we were talking before, the one bucket they got in that last time, DJ Robin got fouled on and got whacked in the head when he makes a layup.
He got whacked hard in the head too. I mean, that's like that, you know, I don't know. It's when your team is 5-0 and has, you know, spent most of the season so far, you know, just beating the shit out of everybody. You know, it's you end up looking for ways to nitpick. And so this game obviously is you know, something people will nitpick about because it felt like it was slipping away. You know, Ken Pomeroy has a neat thing in his box scores where he breaks it down by quarters. Okay. Winthrop scored 35 points in the fourth quarter. 35 in the last 10 minutes of the game. You know,
and I mean that's
by the way, that's after scoring 28 points in the entire first half.
Yeah. And it was threes, you know, the coming off the bench, Patrick Good logging 36 minutes, taking 19 threes, which honestly,
yeah.
If you want to nitpick, the only reliable 3-point defense is to not allow threes at all, and that is generally what this team does, and they did not do that, especially in the last 10 minutes of the game, the last 15, I'd say. And that's, if you want to nitpick, I think there's maybe some effort issues when they get up big in the last 10 minutes or so. Yep. And, UC Santa Barbara offensive rebounding was kind of an issue. Maybe it was going under screens, closing out hard, locating the shooter. That's kind of stuff, good. He went 11 of 19, which is honestly not that insane for him, given he is like a 44% 3-point shooter. So
right, he was 10 of 22. Right? Heading into the game.
So you're only going like one or two off of his, like maybe one off of his normal, like deviating from his normal percentage, like one or two.
I mean, he shot, last year he wasn't great at East Tennessee. He shot 35% on 159 threes. But the year before that, he was 39% on 221. And the year before that, he was 40% on 125 at Appalachian State as a freshman. So dude can definitely shoot.
They're definitely leaving him open. He got
that
a
was
couple
the failure.
Wide open shots out of offensive rebounds. The one that bothered me the most was the one that was late, when he was wide open to the quarter. Like, where do you do it? And then they're not picking him up early enough. Why aren't you just putting? You said it, and then they did it on the very next possession.
Yeah.
Put Muhammad Gay on him.
Yeah, just put Muhammad Gay on him and let him be tall and make him go around. I mean, there's a number of different ways they could have done it. They just did not play well to their fundamentals in the second half. And that's the part that's going to, irritate Kyle Smith is there are certain things that are fundamental to his program. And one of them is chasing shooters off the 3-point line. And that's a thing that's been, a bit hit and miss this year. We're not doing as good of a job getting people off the 3-point line as we did in Smith's first 2 years. I'm not sure exactly why that is. I do suspect that part of it is we've been a little smallish on the perimeter a lot of times. Not all the time, but when you're playing Terrell Roberts and Michael Flowers and Noah Williams as your, it's like this 3-guard set that we've started with and primarily closed out with, that's not a lot of height. Terrell Williams is sub 6 foot. Michael Flowers is listed at 6'1", may not even be that tall, might be more like 6 foot. And then Noah Williams is 6'5", and 6'5" is good size, but playing wing when we've got guys who are 6'7" or 6'8" who can play in that wing spot. That's just kind of, it's a little smallish on the perimeter, and that makes it, that much tougher to chase people off the 3-point line. So that's definitely something that I'm going to be watching going forward, is how, how we do with that, we did limit their threes in the first half, so maybe I'm just full of shit. And so maybe the second half was just its own little unicorn. And maybe it really is just as simple as effort. Like you said, maybe that's really it. Maybe it's really just, they just did not close out very hard. They did not, rotate very hard there. There were a number of times there at the end where, guys just, were either ran under a screen. Noah did that one time, ran under a screen for God knows why. And then another time where Michael Flowers just kind of got screened off way too easy. Like they just did a very, very simple screen and he just kind of ran into the screener and dude gets a wide open 3. So, there are definitely, I think, some effort things, some scheme things that they will correct, some fundamental things that they will correct. That's the only part that's disappointing, but it's on the one hand, you want to go, well, the game was never in doubt. Like truly it was never, just like the UCSB game, truly never in doubt. But, as you pointed out to me, like, hey, margin of victory goes into the net rating now, and that sort of stuff matters.
Yep.
If we're going to the tournament,
if you're having it a one-off every once in a while, but now this is a couple games, you could even say the Alcorn State game, and the Santa Barbara game, and this game where they just let it tighten at the end when they didn't really need to. And it kind of seems like if they would have just kept up intensity a little bit, like instead of coast a little bit, like they definitely could have kept the lead. And that maybe that's a couple spots. If you keep doing that, now one game probably not going to move you that much. But if you think about it, Ken Pom is pretty close. Ken Pom's stuff is efficiency margin, and that's what the net uses. Now the net's going to give you more credit for just getting the win. Ken Pom doesn't give you any credit for the win; it gives you credit for what the margin is. And so,
I think their margin cap is a little lower than his as well.
Yeah, I think so.
So I think that's the other piece.
But that's the thing. You need to just get at that margin cap. It's like 15 points or something. Like stay above that, and you're good. And they should have. They really should have. But honestly, like there was also this thing where, I mean, they went 13 of 22 from 3 in the second half. Like you need to limit the 3-point attempts, but also a team's not usually like they play that game again. They again give them 22 threes in the second half. They're probably not making 13. Like so,
sure.
So it's not like I'm putting all fault. Down the stretch, the offense was painful to watch. A lot of it was just getting fouled. They went 1 of 8. That sucks. Like they weren't really taking very good shots either. Right. They seem to put this emphasis when they're up big in the second half on getting the ball in the block. Maybe they're just trying to work.
Lots of post-ups.
Yeah, Noah's posting up, Deshaun's posting up, FA's posting up, and Gay's posting up. And so that's kind of our entire offense. And they do use a lot of post-ups in the first half, but it's not as vital in the game. They seem to be forcing it more at times. And, if they want to work on stuff, I get it. You're up by 20 points. You have some pretty talented bigs. And, if you want to work on some stuff, that's fine. Like, if you have the luxury to do that in these games, which they obviously did, because even with that kind of ugly offense down the stretch, they still won the game, and with another team hitting an insane amount of threes, like they still won the game. It's not as much fun when they, when everyone flow in and go in and whatever, because Gay had some really nice plays, but he also turned the ball over a bunch.
Yep.
He didn't even he drew some fouls in the post, but you weren't 100% sure he was going to go anywhere if he wasn't going to get fouled, if he didn't get fouled. So he definitely still has some room to grow. I mean, like he makes, every time he scores, it's like an amazing looking play, and you're like, yes, oh my God. And then you kind of, forget the errors, but those come with being a freshman. And it's so, one of the fouls, I don't think that's one of his turnovers. That was bullshit, but that you can't even back down a guy anymore, I guess. Like it's nuts.
Guess not.
That is just unless you're out above the 3-point line. I saw Flowers just totally shimmy a guy off of him out above the 3-point line, and the refs let that go. But if you're down in the post, the guy just falls down, and then the refs have to call something, so they call a charge because they love fucking calling charges.
Yep. Yes, they do. Yeah, it's very frustrating. I mean, Deshaun Jackson's first touch tonight, he makes one little move toward the basket and the dude flops, and all of a sudden it's a charge. It's, to his credit, that was, he only committed 2 fouls all night. That was one of them. So he got it together and actually had a pretty decent game, which was needed because FA was, in foul trouble all night. That's been the hardest part.
Part of the defensive issue too is FA and Gay were in foul trouble down the stretch.
Yep.
And so your rebounding is suffering, your rim protection is suffering, which is causing, maybe your guards to lay off a little more. So, whatever. Yeah. And it's probably pretty explainable, and we don't even look at it that hard if Winthrop doesn't shoot threes like that.
I just hope that the refs figure it out. We do this every damn year. The season starts, the refs call everything insanely tight, particularly when it comes to bigs. They call all this contact around the basket because, everybody's so worried that there's too much contact, in the paint. And so they call super tight around the basket. And then you get these games that are like foul fests and dudes are in foul trouble. And it's like, God, it's like nobody wants to watch all these guys in foul trouble. I mean, we've sort of talked about this before. I mean, something should be done. I think the bare minimum, they should give them 6 personal fouls. I think that's sort of bare minimum just because of the way things are officiated. But, I don't know. It's frustrating. Hopefully it gets a little better once Pac-12 play starts. And, guys of similar size and athleticism are the ones, banging on each other. But it sure is frustrating, man, watching guys that you want to watch play and guys who are difference makers, pick up these cheapy fouls because, there's just naturally more contact down there and guys are going to touch each other and guys are going to bang into each other. And, if you're going to call contact that tight, this is what you're going to get is, a whole bunch of foul trouble, and it's stupid and nobody wants it. And
late in the game, Winthrop's point guard, who had hit a bunch of threes, hit a few threes, and then he, Noah, who has seen the refs call down in the paint, if a guy even has his elbow even anywhere, and then the guy falls over, it's a foul.
Yep.
So he takes an elbow and falls, and they just let it go. And Dan Dickow, the most wonderful color analyst ever, who agrees with every damn charge that has ever been called, goes, "Oh, that's a good no call." It's like, well, and then I credit to Heister, who then folded immediately, but said, "Well, they've been calling that all night." And Dickow says, "Well, if they called all night, they called a block." It's like, well, they haven't called blocks all night. They haven't called a block on that all night at all.
They haven't called a block on anything all night.
Yeah, I don't think they called a block on Roberts when he was in good defensive position.
It's the reason why the block charge call just it has to go or be legislated in a totally different just completely different way, because it's really truly just a coin flip. It's the lottery. You slide in there and flip a coin. Are you going to get a charge or is it going to be a block? We don't know. We have no idea. There's no consistency to it, and it's frustrating. Anyways, but
the Cougs fucking won.
Yes, they did.
Because they can shoot free throws, and
because by the way, that's nice. Yeah. After last year.
Yeah, because they can drop 48 in the first half and be at 68 with 11 minutes to go. That helps. You can build those big leads, and then if another team goes absolutely bonkers and the game just goes sideways, you have plenty of cushion, and that's helped them out. And so that's good. So they won. Yeah, maybe it hurts the net rating at some point. I don't know. I probably overly worry about shit like that, but
if we're thinking about things on the margins, right? I mean, this is a team where the margins could matter, and these are things on the margin that you'd really rather not be bringing into play. You'd like to.
You don't want margin to be Santa on Barbara. The margin.
Yeah, you'd like to beat UC Santa Barbara by 15 instead of 7, or 8 or whatever it was, and you'd like to beat Winthrop by 15 instead of 6. It's those were really 15 to 20 point games, and that changes. I think the thing that so if we're starting to nitpick about things, the defense is definitely not as sharp as I would have expected.
Yeah, how crazy is it that the offense is clearly the better side of the ball?
Yeah, way better.
Yeah, that's right now. The offense is 39th on KenPom in adjusted offensive efficiency, and the defense is 83rd.
Yep.
That's a drop for the defense and a rise for the offense from the start of the year.
Yeah, I think the defense started around 60. Is that right? 60th?
I think. 50s, 59, 60, somewhere around there.
Yeah. And I remember we looked at it and went, well, they were top 25 last year. They've lost Bonton. That seems a little weird that they would, their forecast would drop that far. But it's been not great. I mean, it's been okay, but it's been not great.
The thing, some of the peripherals that are concerning are the offensive rebounding percentage. I can't even read into I can't read into our free throw rate. I can't read into the opposing team's free throw rate just because of the game's been called. So I don't even know what to think about that. But the turnover, if you're not going to if you're not gonna rebound as well, you better get turnovers, and they're not doing that either. Luckily, their 2-point defense has been excellent, and that's what we would expect from this giant back line, But yeah, it's just maybe those few bit of steals here and there, and then really they definitely have some weirdness in their rebounding because they block a lot of shots, and so for example, Deshaun blocked a shot out of bounds today that counts as an offensive rebound for Winthrop. If you block a shot and the team picks it back up, that's an offensive rebound. So you're kind of getting punished in one stat for making a good defensive play. They are getting a little unlucky. Teams are shooting free throws really well. So I hope, they started out as a pretty so-so rebounding team last year, and then absolutely locked in conference time. And so hopefully they can come back around again. They're still, you look at the offensive rebounding, that's amazing. Keep that up. But defensively, there's definitely some peripherals that are a little concerning. Because if they're not going to force a lot of turnovers, which I don't think they will, I just don't think they have the roster to do that, or the defensive style, truthfully. And so they really need to clean the glass, and they did for the most part today. They were like 75%. They got kind of unlucky because they were shooting so many threes. There was a lot of long rebounds and stuff, and then wide open shooters waiting for them. But yeah, so hopefully they can move towards cleaning that up, because obviously they've played a lot of teams that they should be killing the boards against so far. Maybe it's just all that Deshaun mentality where you just need a big guy to play against.
I came into the year wondering, when I heard what the opening lineup was going to be, I came into the year wondering if the 3-guard lineup was really sustainable. And I don't know. Obviously the offense is incredible right now. It's hard to communicate right now just how good the offense has been. I could say
they made one field goal in the last 11:43, and they finished at 1.21 points per possession today.
So I'm like, we've had 1.21 points per possession or better in 4 of the 5 games. We haven't seen anything like that in 10 years. I don't know, like a stretch like that. Regardless of the competition, right? Haven't seen anything like that. So the offense is really, 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 really good. So, maybe this is just a team where, they're all in on offense. I kind of have a hard time believing that with Kyle Smith. So maybe they feel comfortable. Hey, we're going to win with offense, and the defense will be good enough. And we're just going to have this elite offense when we start these 3 guards. I'm skeptical that that is the path forward for the rest of the year. I don't know, man. I am, there are so many problems created by having that 3-guard lineup defensively that I really wonder how sustainable that really is. The move that makes the most sense is, moving Roberts to a bench role and bringing him off the bench and just letting him fire away. Yeah. But I don't know. It's an interesting quandary. I just don't think they can be an elite defense with that particular 3-guard setup for, 25, 30 minutes a game. That just seems like you're putting a lot on guys who aren't very tall and that stuff. And I also think that's contributing a little bit to their defensive rebounding situation.
Yeah.
That's not, if you think back to 2 years ago when they were really good defensive rebounding team without any good bigs. And, it was Jeff, all apologies to Jeff Pollard, right? But, Jeff Pollard was really good at boxing people out, and then CJ Ellaby swoops in for the rebound, right? And
and that's the thing here is, FA and Gay are not blockout guys. They're NBA.
They're not
athletes. Yep. They jump and go get the ball. They don't stick their ass in anyone. That's what. So with Pollard, it was he would block out, and then CJ would come from the 3 or 4 and clean the board up. And yeah. So, but you're not going to see that with these guys, and because they don't need to generally, So it's but
so here's a stat for you. So Ken Pomeroy breaks down the percentage of your defensive rebounds, what position they're coming from. Right now, about 30% of them are coming from the center position, which you would expect, right? So that's 81st nationally. When you look at the power forward position, they're only getting 21% of their rebounds from the four. That's 235th nationally. And I think some of that is also due to, we've had to go small at times, right? Where you've got Yakimovsky playing the four or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then when you look at our point guard position, only 12% of our defensive rebounds are coming there. That's 251st nationally. That's quite a bit below the national average. So, I don't know, man, just not getting, and as I look back to last year, how that compares to last year.
And Flowers,
so we were 90.
Flowers had 9 defensive rebounds in the first game.
Yep.
And
we were
much from the
more
guards, really, since then.
Much more balanced rebounding wise last year. Small forward was 251st as a percentage of the defensive rebounds, but point guard was 93rd, shooting guard was 161st, power forward 109th, center 191st. So they were kind of, really kind of spreading the load there. This year, they're just not getting much from their guards in terms of rebounding. And if they're not getting much from their guards in terms of rebounding right now, that's really a concern when you start playing against, your bigger, more physical, more athletic teams in Pac-12 play.
Yes. But again, like you said, I would expect, like you, I don't know if you expect it to happen. I expect it to happen. I think we're going to move to a bigger lineup at some point. Either Flowers or Roberts will go to the bench, be a 6-man, and you'll see just bigger lineups. You'll see maybe a Deshaun, F.A., even Gay lineup all at once, although they're probably pretty worried about foul trouble with that. So, but even if you have either Deshaun, F.A., Gay, Deshaun, and then maybe Bamba or Yaki or Rodman at the 3 instead of Noah at the 3, and then you put Noah at the 2, and then you put one of your smaller guards at the 1. You're just so much bigger, and so so I'd see that. But we were talking about the offense. So obviously since our last podcast, they did something offensively pretty amazing, regardless of who you're playing. And I was there watching them rain down 109 points on our rival Idaho Vandals in their brand spanking new beautiful arena, I will say. And we lit that place on fire, which is dangerous because it is mostly made out of wood on the inside. So, Ryan Rapp coming at the end, the fire department was ready to go. But that was, especially that second half, absolutely bonkers. Just to watch a team watch a WSU team. The last time I saw WSU play Idaho was 2006, 2007 team. They were a good team, but I think they won 64-52, which was a very them score. This was nuts. Honestly, the craziest thing was you have this dude that played a bunch of minutes last year. He's a scholarship player. He was a 3-star recruit, but this team has gotten so deep that he comes in. It's like he's a walk-on. Yeah. Like, I couldn't help it. All the like kind of 60 to 70% WSU fans in the crowd, that was when they came alive, when Rapp started hitting shots at the end. And plus we wanted
he didn't exactly play the the humble walk on at the end either. I mean, he was
well, I will say that
he was very excited to get in on the action.
Really, really happy for him too. He had a death in the family, apparently, right? Like the day before. So really cool to see him get to light it up like that, because he was having fun, and glad he got in that game. And he's the one that got him to 100 on a free throw with like a couple minutes left. I mean, it was kind of nuts. I think they were at like 47 at halftime, And you're like, they could get to 100, but teams usually slow down in the second half. They don't. But WSU would not slow down. They started hitting threes, which they weren't doing in the first half. They started burying
and
threes.
They also kept shooting them.
Yep. Just kept shooting. Flowers was hitting them first, and then Rapp and Bomba was hitting them. Everyone was hitting them. That was absolutely bonkers. Just a team score 109 points. I don't even care who you're playing, especially if it's another Division I team. Like, that's just insane. I was
and that was a raw point total record in the Ken Pomeroy era. They had not scored more than 109 points since like 2001 or something. So
also an efficiency record, right?
Also an efficiency record at 1.51.
1.51, a point and a half every time.
Yeah,
you have the ball.
Which is like if people just like stop, even if you don't understand like all the how to contextualize
that would be position. Like a Tony Bennett team scoring 85 to 90 points in a game.
Like, just think, a point and a half every time you come down the floor. Like, that's that's not that far away from essentially making a 2-pointer on every trip. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. Or a 3-pointer on every other trip. Maybe that's a better way to think of it.
I will
every
say
other
that
trip down the floor, you hit a 3.
Before WC kind of took over midway in the first half, I'd say about 5 minutes in, Idaho hit those first 2 threes. The students, the Idaho Vandal students, were going nuts. Really cool. The roof's pretty low there. They serve beer. It's a nice kind of tight 4,200 atmosphere. And it was pretty close to that capacity with all the WSU fans who were in town for the football game. Coming over to watch. So good on Idaho. I was talking to Theo Lawson, our friend Theo. I went with him to the game, and he was just talking about how he's been when he was in school 10 years ago. That they were talking about building an arena, and it would happen long before that. Talking about building a basketball arena. This is like 25 years they've been talking about this, and he was just talking about how surreal as an Idaho alum that they actually got that built. So there's hope for our facilities yet, and maybe we'll get some facilities someday. Because that was pretty cool to see that Idaho got that built, and all I think privately funded. So
it's a good deal, man.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. Way to go, Idaho. Now you got to get a little bit better basketball teams in there.
Yeah, if we were building our own place, how big would you want it to be?
I'd say probably around 8,000, probably.
Yeah. That would be on the high end for me. I mean, I know that when it's rocking, the students pack it out. But I'm thinking between 6,000 and 8,000.
Well, I just think when we were real bad, even the UW games and the Gonzaga games or whatever would draw 8,000. So. Yeah. So if you're saying even when you're bad, those are the high end. You're going to build an 8,000. If you build that 8,000, 6,000 seat arena, you're probably still getting more revenue because you're going to have luxury boxes in there and all that shit. Plus, it'll be more of a draw to go there. It's already clearly been a draw for Idaho. So, I don't know. Yeah, 6,000, 8,000. That'd be great. Keep it intimate, loud. Beasley is super loud when you have those 5,000 students in there, and I expect by the middle of conference play it's going to look like that. So I'm excited for that. But also, Beasley is Beasley, and it is nothing fancy in this new world, this current world. I mean, it used to host NCAA tournament games, but it does not do that anymore.
Once upon a time.
Yeah, I just couldn't imagine the logistical nightmare of the hotels. In Pullman for that.
Yeah.
All right.
That was, it was great to see that Idaho win. That was fun to watch them run it up, and I don't know about you, but I kind of watched.
I was sitting the second half. I sat right by the WSU bench, and Noah Williams gets up when it's about I think they're at about 90. And he's done for the night, obviously. And he just says, he just yells, "Let's get to 100. Let everyone know. Run it up.
That's my guy. I love him. Yeah, I kind of hoped that was, like, all right, we kind of got our lazy second half out of our system against UC Santa Barbara, and well, apparently we didn't. So
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. Got a few days off. Eastern Washington this weekend. That should be another team they murder, and then they go to Tempe. So
And then it gets harder.
We'll all be in Pullman for the USC game, so that should be fun as well.
Yeah, I still
exciting.
get, I'm worried about that pass, but I think I'll go.
Yeah. Are you hitching a ride with me?
If there's room, are you doing?
Well, there's room.
You're doing the Friday to Sunday.
Yeah.
Thank you. Welcome everyone to our plans for the weekend. Yeah.
It's just kind of crossed my mind. I was like, you can always ride with us.
I have tickets already, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might have to do that.
Okay. I think we actually still have a bed in our Airbnb. So.
Oh, well, maybe not. Maybe I won't get my own hotel room.
Yeah. Maybe don't get a hotel room.
Damn.
So
everything's coming up Craig right now.
There it goes. All right. We can take a break?
Yeah, let's take a break.
Football?
We'll come back, talk football. We're back. Jeff, I do feel a bit guilty after this weekend because I kind of had a little too much fun on Saturday or Friday night. Maybe stayed out with some friends a little too late. Shout out to my Wander squad, Brad and Rochelle. We just couldn't stop walking around Pullman. But that made me maybe get up a little later and leave Pullman a little later. So I just needed to get home, and I didn't have time to stop at Pretty Fair Beer. So I apologize to Pretty Fair Beer. I feel like I have a hole in my heart because I didn't stop at our favorite Cougar bar in Ellensburg to get a nice beer and a nice meal. Instead, I was left to get...
And you didn't get the fresh hop lager either.
I didn't. I missed out on it. So, never again. Will I make such a mistake. I will not sacrifice.
You'll totally do it again.
But yes, Pretty Fair Beer in Ellensburg. I'm looking on Twitter. I'm looking at our readers. I'm looking at Coug fans. I've been seeing a lot of people posting their pictures, going to Pretty Fair Beer. Nice place to stop. People are enjoying it. I see Jim, I see you out there recurring, going there every weekend, going to Pretty Fair Beer on your way to Pullman. That's what I love to see because honestly, I think it's a great place. I saw our friends at Logan's stopping back there on the way back. Even they left even later than me. So really, did I have an excuse? No, but whatever. They don't have kids. So, but yeah, like it's because I think what people are discovering that have gone there on our recommendation on this podcast, is that Pretty Fair Beer is a great spot, and it's always fun to go to a Cougar spot. And if you follow their Twitter and their social media feed, they're definitely all about the Cougs and they love repping the Cougs, and they were really proud to represent like a Coug podcast. So I love that I see all these people that have went there and then legitimately enjoy it, because I know I've legitimately enjoyed stopping there. Because it's great. So much great craft beer selection, both for there and to go, and cans and bottles, all of that. So much great to choose from. They have food. You can take kids there now. They have wine for your, people that want to drink beer. You can watch games there, including the Coug games and the Sounders and the Kraken and the Seahawks and all of that. So it's a great spot. We've got to meet the owners. They're very great. They're awesome, and just This has just been so much fun having them as a sponsor, because honestly, I legitimately, like, if I would have just organically found out about them, I would have been very excited about Pretty Fair Beer. And I would have probably decided to stop there in Ellensburg if I knew they existed. Luckily, they let us know they existed, and now I have a cool spot to stop in Ellensburg on the way. And now if you live in Central Washington, you have a nice Coug-owned craft beer bar that gets a lot of stuff on the west side that doesn't actually get distributed to the east side.
Yeah.
So you should definitely check it out. A lot of the people that have been, a lot of our listeners that have went there have been very excited about it. So Pretty Fair Beer in Ellensburg, that extra mile beyond that strip where you get gas, just keep going, sit down for a few minutes, have a beer, have something to eat.
Yes. Yeah, we love that. I think the thing I love the most is that, you know, like they're not trying to have, 45 different taps. It's 12 taps, highly curated. Like, what you're going to get is going to be good.
And it's not 12 IPAs. It is not. It's different beers.
Yes. Which we love. So
that's what we love. I like IPAs, but I like a lot of stuff.
Yes, you do. That
Your
is true.
sour lovers. You'll get something.
Yeah. I was wearing my Pretty Fair Beer shirt yesterday. So
very nice.
Representing.
Way to represent. Awesome.
Company man.
So yeah, I mean, I'm looking at their menu. Like you like light styles, Kolsch, like a Czech Pilsner. They got Guava Dawn from Rhythm Family. That's a great sour. They got you always got your friend that wants the lighter beers. Your friends that like the IPAs. Someone that like something malty. You got a wee heavy on there, a brown ale on there. Just a lot, and then plus that's not even counting what's in the cooler, where they always have a bunch of other surprises. So definitely check them out. And then, of course, a great place to watch games and just hang out and get a bite to eat. So, Pretty Fair Beer. Been loving doing this this little bit every game and or every week, and I've actually come to really like that place. So it's pretty nice. What do you call it? Synergy for a sponsor and. Sponsee.
I think that's what they call it.
That's what they call it. All right, Jeff. So, what is your Pretty Fair Beer of the episode?
Pretty fair. So I'm having the Black Raven Flocktoberfest lager, the fall seasonal. Yeah, which is a nice little toasty lager. Traditional Czech grown and malted barley and European hops. So. Nice little excellent German Marzen style, little 5%er. Just nice little lager here to finish off my night.
Yeah, so Flocktoberfest. It's if it's the Marzen style, that's the traditional Oktoberfest style. You'll also see the Fest beers, which are the lighter style that kind of came about in the beer gardens and at the Oktoberfest celebration, where people were like, can we just get us some a little lighter to chug?
Yeah. Since we're going to be drinking for like 12 hours.
Yeah. Always nice to get one of those bars and get a nice toasty, malty lager.
Yeah. It's good. I like it.
So, me, I like to have thematic beers.
I do.
So as it is Apple Cup week, we can't get around that. My Pretty Fair beer of the week is an allowable sense of precaution from Weldworks and Burial, a collaboration beer that was brewed at Weldworks. So it's, of course, a week for an allowable sense of precaution. Weldworks, I always have to mention, still owes me beer. When you're
gonna mention that every time
they name searched themselves and found that they mentioned me. I mentioned them in my preview of the Northern Colorado Bears when WSU played Northern Colorado in 2019, and they sent out a bet to me offering up a couple the beers that I mentioned. Now I can't remember it. Whatever. What it was, a barrel-aged stout and their hazy IPA, because those were the two beers that I was aware of. I swear I have some in the cellar and I can't even remember what it's called. But anyways, they owe me each of those. I agreed to the bet. I even offered up, if WSU should lose, here are some Northwest beers I will send you. And so they have yet to pay. We are now well over 2 years since then.
I love it.
So I am.
We're like about 26 months, right?
Yeah,
about 26 months since then.
WeldWorks, I think you're a good brewery. I'm drinking your beer right now. It's an imperial stout brewed with cinnamon, marzipan, cardamom, vanilla, and brown sugar. So it's a nice little spice-driven stout. It's giving me an allowable sense of precaution for, which is the opposite of what you would think would happen with. They got the percentage on here. No, but I'm going to say this is at least like 11 to 12%. I don't see the percentage anywhere. Not something you would typically associate with. No, it's 10.8. Not something you would associate with drinking that high ABV of a beer. And maybe we'll find out in when we talk about the Apple Cup. Maybe this will lower my inhibitions. I don't know. But yes, as we approach this week, even with whatever stakes there may be for WSU, we should have an allowable sense of precaution. And I'm drinking
whatever
this
stakes
nice.
there may be. There's lots of stakes apparently now.
Yeah. I'm just approaching with an allowable sense of precaution, which is nice, kind of spiced imperial stout. It's always not my favorite to have a stout this big that's not barrel aged, but it's well done. It's sweet. It's got all those spices. I really taste the cinnamon and the cardamom probably especially. Yeah, so good beer. You still owe me beer, WeldWorks. I will never let it go. And I already tagged you on Twitter today. So I
love it.
Yeah, if you want to hit up WeldWorks, email me. I'll send you the screenshots if you want to go at them on my behalf. Not to dox them, but just to remind them that they owe me beer. Anyways, so football, which is what we usually first talk about, but hey, we love the hoops. But hey, as I was in Pullman for that thrashing of Idaho, I also was in Pullman for the thrashing of Arizona in one of the weirdest weather games I have ever seen.
Did you actually see the game? Or...
If it was played on the side of the field that I was sitting on, I saw the game. If it was played on the far side of the field, such as when Max looked like he was down and then sprinted down the sideline for like a 70-yard touchdown, and it turned out he was down, we had no idea what was going on. We kind of saw through the fog a figure running down the sideline and Max's kind of very recognizable gait.
Yeah.
And we're all just looking at each other with our arms in the air like, what just happened? Did Max score a touchdown? And then on Twitter, everyone's like, no, he was down. I was like, okay, fine, whatever. Not like the Pac-12 refs could even see it. But I will say, pretty impressive some of the deep throws that Jaden made in that fog. I don't think I could see 40 yards down the field.
Yeah, I don't know how he saw it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Maybe that's just it shows how well he is kind of in tune with Travell and with Calvin at this point. But yeah, that was nuts. Like it was kind of snow raining in the first half, and then this fog settled in. And I guess you watched it on TV, but it was I watched the highlights. They had to get pretty creative with the camera angles just so you could see the game.
Oh, it was super funny, man. Just like they were sitting so low and like trying to give you something. And that was pretty hilarious. Because there's not a whole lot that causes too much problem for television, but fog is the thing, man. You can't see through the fog, and It was thick. It was thick.
And the encouraging thing is to see, with all that weird weather, really the WC was not impeded. They put it to a team that they needed to destroy. And they did.
Yeah.
They were very efficient in finishing their drives. They had a couple big plays, big touchdown plays and mix it in. They had a nice blocked punt for a safety, which also I had no idea what was going on with that. And neither did the people calling the game. And also it didn't help that the ref signaled a touchback. that was not helpful. That was the one thing we could see is a ref signaling a touchback. We're like, what? Like, how is that a touchback? Like, when is that ever a touchback? But yeah, so it was really cool. Jaden only took 22 passes. They got to 259 yards. That draw play, man. Has a draw play ever in the history of football ever worked that well for that many times?
No, I don't think so.
That was...
I mean, I wish I had a more insightful answer to that, but I think the answer is just no. This is it. This is the, this is the pinnacle of somewhere Mike Holmgren is just like, smiling to himself and laughing, like a maniacal laugh in his lazy boy chair, just ha ha ha, all the draw plays.
Yeah, West Coast offense, a staple. And Mike Price, of course, but they weren't all on like 3rd and 10. They were on like 1st and 10 often, or 2nd and 8, whatever. Like the draw plays were just crazy. Like, Arizona, what are you doing? How can this work? Over every time they do it, you're like, no way. Oh, there he goes. Their backs goes for another 20 yards.
As it turns out, they stink.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. Because there definitely was a feeling in the first half that we were not playing particularly well and still just destroying them. Like it was pretty bad. Which we were playing about as well as you'd expect, like in the weather. But it was just, they're very bad. Like they did a lot of things where it's like, well, thank you, Arizona, for being you. And
this must have been what it was like for teams to play us during the Paul Wolf years. Just like, no matter what you do, you're going to win by multiple touchdowns.
Yep. And one thing that was really cool is that a lot of the big plays were made by seniors. All the touchdowns by Max and Calvin and Travell, all guys that were participating in the senior day festivities.
Counterpoint, that's a little depressing.
But honestly, I'll tell you what's more depressing. When you're getting ready for senior day and there is like, you can count the number of people on your hands and toes that are in the stadium. So, this senior class is just one to be celebrated because of all the things they've gone through and all the wins they've had along the way through all that shit that they've gone through. Just what they've done this year when a lot of us didn't expect them to do much of anything. And to get bowl eligibility, that just felt really good. You could see through the fog on the big screen the bowl eligible sign at the end. That felt pretty good. And I'll never take for, like, WC went so long without many bowl games. I will never take for granted getting 2 bowl games, and especially in a season like this, where no one would have expected them to do that. It's pretty cool that they got us there. Yes, a lot of the production was from guys that are leaving, although that QB, he's not going anywhere. And he seems to be a big driver in what has gotten us here versus what we looked at the start of the year when he wasn't playing through injury or through coaching malpractice. But yeah, so all in all, like, not a lot more you can ask for on senior night to have the seniors be awesome and have them win and have a meaningful win to get them to a bowl game. And then also, Jeff, they're still alive for the goddamn Pac-12 North championship. Like, what the hell?
I know. We could win the Pac-12 North with a 7-5 record.
Yeah, because 7-5, like 6-3 of that would be inside. Like if someone told you that WSU went 1-2 in their non-conference games, there's no way you would be like, oh yeah, well we got to bowl eligibility by beating Arizona with one game to play.
Or flip it around and go, if you had told me we were going to be, 6-3, presuming we win the Apple Cup, which is obviously a huge presumption, but I'm just saying, like if we win the Apple
sense
Cup,
of precaution, Jeff, an allowable sense of precaution, Jeff.
If we win that game, we'll be 6-3 in the Pac-12. And if you had told me we were 6-3 in the Pac-12, I'd be like, well, holy shit! How many games did we win? 8, 9? Like, hell yeah, let's go! And yeah, whatever, man. This fucking wet fart of a season. Sometimes, like, I mean, not that it's been a bad result, but it's also just like, God, man, like this season has been so just strange and like weird in every possible way. Just to the point where you just go, man, I don't know, like. I want to sit there and go, man, there's no way that's going to work out this weekend. We got to beat UW and Oregon State has to beat Oregon. I mean, come on. But then it's also like, man, the way this season, I was going to say, the way this season's gone, that is the kind of weirdness that would be totally appropriate.
Yeah. And let me pull it back a little bit before we get into that, because I did want to talk kind of about what it was like to be there for that and just think about, like I mentioned earlier, what the players went through to get to this point and what the seniors went through to get to this point with multiple teammate deaths and multiple coaching changes and one of the weirder coaching changes, one of the weirdest, maybe the weirdest coaching change you'll ever see.
Oh, probably the weirdest.
Yeah. And, just to have, one coach leave them, one coach essentially quit on them. They're sitting with an interim coach who doesn't even know if he's going to be there. It was pretty like, I don't think I've ever felt like quite so emotional about a game. And I think that's why it hit me when like there wasn't a lot of people there. The students definitely filled in more late and they were loud. But still, that student section was maybe like a third to 40% full. The alumni section was very sparse. Yeah, that's one of the sparsest alumni sections. Well, definitely the one sparsest all year. Sparse in a few years, honestly. I mean, we always have bad attendance for this weekend, but this was some of the worst.
Friday night just makes it worse, man. Like that.
I mean, it definitely makes it worse for the alumni. They were hoping that it would help with the students, but what I heard from I hung out with the student that put my name on on the Pac-12 network during the WSU, I can't remember which game.
Yep. The first game.
Said, hi, Craig Powers.
The Alcorn State game.
And then he said at the end, meet you at the Coug, Craig. And so, I met him on Twitter and I said, come on over. I was at the Coug pretty much all day before the game, watching the soccer game. And then, I had that long table in the back. I wasn't leaving that. So I was at the Coug until, from like 10:30 to 5:30. So just had to leave in time to make the senior festivities. But yeah, so Nate was there with me for a lot of the time and that was fun. And he watched first half basically with me, and then he went over with the students in the second half. But that was pretty fun. But he told me, and some other students told me that most of the profs canceled classes on Friday.
Damn it.
So that kind of undid. Probably with WSU, I talked about some people like WSU probably asked for that game to be on Friday versus.
That would make sense.
Because a lot of the alumni tickets are sold already, so that they're not really taking a big hit on that. But if they're wanting an atmosphere, they want the students to be there. And the students that were there did provide a good atmosphere. They probably couldn't see the other half of the field. Much like it would be funny to hear a roar from them, and we have I don't know what they're talking about. But they did bring it, and that's what you'd expect. And but still, it kind of sucked to see. But it was pretty emotional to see them get that win, and it was really cool when Jihad got that interception at the end. Get in on the party, the senior party there. If there's any senior on defense that you hope make a play in his final game, that would be the one. He's been here since 2016. He redshirted.
Yeah.
So Jihad Woods is part of 5 bowl teams. Like, that is nuts.
Yep.
5 bowl teams.
Super nuts.
Very cool. But anyways, so because they won and because they have won more games than we even expected, we're coming here into the Apple Cup with stakes, and who wants that?
Yeah, because that's worked out so great for us in the recent past, right? Like,
so I know
expectations and stakes.
We've all done the
worst.
over analysis here, and we've looked at the weird ass Pac-12 rules with the weird ass language.
Yes.
But many people reporters have talked to the Pac-12.
Yes.
The scenario is, if it's a 3-way tie between Washington State, Oregon State, and Oregon, WSU, by virtue of its 4-1 divisional record, would be the Pac-12 North representative in the
correct
in the Pac-12 championship game. So
yeah,
that is the stakes. WSU plays on Friday. Oregon State plays on Saturday. So that helps. Like, at least we won't know. So there's not that extra added nervousness of like.
Yeah, but holy shit, what if we win the game? And then we're sitting around on Saturday watching the Civil War, counting on Oregon fucking State.
Who beat Oregon last year? Beat them last year?
I don't give a shit. Like, I don't want to be counting on Jonathan Smith and the fucking Beavers to like make my day, just like make my season. I don't know. Like, that is gonna. I don't know, man. I'm gonna have ulcers on this thing one way or the other. It doesn't really matter.
But also, if they win that game, at least you're probably not it's just as long as you could avoid the Sun Bowl. I think for a lot of fans, that's the hardest one to go to. But they definitely could still end up in the Sun Bowl, which sucks because it's just going to be a whole lot of teams on the same line when it comes to picking bowls. But anyways,
right.
WSU has not won that game. WSU has not won that game since 2012.
Yes,
so
as we know,
we are hurt. We are scarred. That's what makes all this even the more nauseating, is because, oh my God, the Apple Cup matters again. Like, again, it matters. Like, it.
God damn it.
We needed it in 2018, in 2017, in 2016, 2015. We could have, who knows where we could have gone for a bowl if we won that game. So again, I think my senior year, WSU was already at 6 wins, but there wasn't as many bowl games back then, so they actually needed that 7th win to go to a bowl game, and UW denied them. So a little part of me kind of wishes UW would have beat Colorado, because I've always wanted that payback of like denying them the bowl game. But funny enough, UW fucking sucks, and they're 4-7. So, which is pretty funny. Let's be honest. We all enjoy it.
It is. It's super funny.
It's great. But also, WSU has been better than UW so many times in the Apple Cup in recent memory. Well, not in recent memory. UW's been pretty good when we've had to play them recently.
That's been the problem.
Maybe the only time we've been objectively better is probably 2018, and maybe 2015. But it's it's stressful, because I want to see Jaden sling it around, but UW. Oh, by the way, we're previewing the Apple Cup now.
We're not going to have a separate podcast on Friday.
Yeah, we can't do it. It's just it's
Thanksgiving week. There's just too much going on, man.
Thanksgiving. My fiance's birthday is on Wednesday. This is already on Monday. Tomorrow, Jeff, on Tuesday, Jeff and I are going to Sounders game. We got shit to do, all right? So this is now your Apple Cup preview, which I don't even think, Jeff, you even wanted to do, right?
I mean, I just like, I don't even want to think about this game. Like I'm already, I've told you this, I probably mentioned on the podcast, but I'm already taking a big step out by not just watching it in my basement alone with my sad beer and my sad, just, like countenance as I'm watching the game. Like I'm venturing out of my home. I am going to go into public during the Apple Cup, and I am going to like attempt to enjoy the game. Now, if we happen to win, I will be the biggest fucking asshole that ever walked the face of the earth, taunting everything purple that's within shouting distance of me.
As would be your right.
mean, yeah. So there will definitely be that, but I'm also just like, I don't want to think about the chance that we will win. I don't want to think about the fact that we are the better team. I think honestly, like my biggest concern about the game is this. I think there's no doubt we're the better team. I think that's obvious on so many levels, and that's fine. But as you mentioned, that hasn't always worked out. And the thing that concerns me the most is that Jaden DeLora, as we were talking about Jaden DeLora is just like way overly amped up for this thing. As he has a tendency to do from time to time. Mm-hmm. The best thing we could have going for us is a fairly flat crowd at the University of Washington, which I think is a legitimate possibility. That the Husky crowd is not, super amped up and super crazy. I think there's a chance, because I've been there when they've been. We talked 2015. I mean, I was there for Peyton Bender, and that was.
Well, they kind of had to be brought into the game by the team, and they were playing for bowl. But even like UW fans typically are like, well, whatever, a 6-6 bowl team, whatever. But there was hardly any students there, and I fully expect that to be the case for this game, because it's raining all day. Like they're not going to be that into it. But honestly, that's a huge stadium. You don't need that many people for it to be loud.
That's true.
It's built as we
and it's
like
a loud
to do,
stadium, regardless.
as we like to do in the Northwest. We build things to keep the sound in, and it's a loud stadium. So if WSU makes a mistake, if UW gets a big play, the crowd will get into it, I think, even if it's only 50,000 UW fans or whatever, versus 70. So that's the thing, because even we've seen Martin can be half full, and if crazy shit is going on, like those fans will be going nuts,
Yeah.
So that's the thing is like, Can you handle that? I mean, they've went and won on the road this year, but it was at Cal and ASU.
Yep.
And so it's a little bit different of an environment. There's going to be a lot more WSU fans there than either of those games, so maybe that gives them a boost. But yeah, I do see them being amped. I hope that Max at this point doesn't get too amped or anything. Like he's been through these. He's lost a few. He's talked at him.
But he is, playing his best football right now.
Well, and honestly,
he's come on strong the last couple weeks.
And that's the key point here is UW still has a very good pass defense. They're like top 5 in EPA per play per pass. They don't give up big plays. Their defense is very highly rated. Their predicted points added per play is 0.077, which is very low. And their passing down defense, only 27% success rate for teams. So really, like this game, and this is where maybe this like Dickert style of running the ball more is going to be beneficial, because UW is not a very good run defense. Middle of the road at best against the run. And so when it was the years of the air raid, people would say, we need to run the ball. It's like, well, they're not going to. Okay, so shut the hell up. like they're not going to run the ball. Like you could say it over and over again. They're not going to run the ball. But here it's like, yeah, they might. They've run the ball a lot the last few weeks. Like they might do it. Like and honestly, you're going to be more successful against this UW defense if you run the ball. That's it's not necessarily WSU's strength, but they do have playmakers there. WSU is a better passing team than a running team generally, but like you said, Max has been playing really well lately. He's definitely taken a step up as the season has gone along. Dion is still steady and good. He had a very good game against Arizona. He's still that guy that can get you those clutch yards. And what we talked about, WSU. Shout out to Zane for our buddy Zane Murfitt, writes for Kook Center. Gave us a stat is that WSU has really improved on its stuff rate offensively, which is a 0 or negative yard rushing play, which they were really struggling with early in the season, and they've really stepped up in that. That's come down. That is no longer an obvious weakness. They're not getting stuffed at such a high rate that it's an obvious weakness. So that's good. And so there's a part of me that says, hell yeah, let's just run the fucking ball on them and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like,
I mean, it's going to be in the rain too. It's going to be in the shit. So.
Yeah. I just like, I tend to think that it's going to be a close game. I think that both teams will probably, try and run the ball. I just think that, one nice thing we've got going for us on this game is that Washington just doesn't have the athletes anymore to run away from you the way that they have in the past. So, there were years where, hey,
Hold on, Jeff. Hold on.
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah, I know. But the roster is just not as talented as it has been. And, so where, you'd have, for example, we talked about, the 2015 game where, Peyton Bender just kind of falls apart and everything just turns, just completely snowballs on him. This team's just not as talented as that. So even if there are mistakes made,
that 2015 UW
they don't
team,
have the ability to run away from you in the same way that maybe some of these past teams did. And, so I guess that gives me some hope. I guess that gives me some comfort. That I think either it's it's close one way or the other, or we run away with it. I really don't see a scenario where Washington runs away with it.
Strong words.
I know.
But we're taking an allowable sense of precaution here. Yeah, honestly, me neither. I mean, it's because their offense is just...
Yes, that's exactly
good.
it. Like they're just not... their offense doesn't hit big plays. Morris has a big arm, but they don't hit big plays down the field. They're not explosive. They
don't finish drives.
They don't finish
the ball
drives.
over.
They're a below average offense. Maybe they do what sometimes happens in these games, which is they put together the game of their lives and suddenly live up to all the potential everyone thought they had all along and smoke us. But I just I don't see that being a very likely outcome.
Yeah. So I'll come back to that stuff rate I said about WSU's offense. Zane said WSU is the 5th most improved Power 5 team over the last 6 weeks in stuff rate. That kind of jives. WSU, they're off. So they're first in the. Zane also said WSU is first in the Pac-12 in weeks 7 through 12 in explosiveness, and UW is last. So this kind of vibes with what you've been seeing with WSU. Their offense has just been getting better and better. They've been making big plays. Even against Oregon, they lost, but they made big plays in that game. It's going to be harder to make big plays against UW's pass defense. That is something that they pride themselves on not allowing. That is the one thing they're very good at. That's why they have 4 wins and not like 2 wins. Like, honestly, that's why a lot of the games are very close. I think the stat is they haven't allowed 35 points in a long time. Like, it's like 6 years or something. So I'm not sure I see like Jaden slinging it all over, but if we can get like one or two big plays in the offense in the passing game, and maybe those plays go for TDs, that would be pretty great. And then I think what you're hoping for and what this team, they didn't do against Arizona. They only had one takeaway and they forced one fumble. But UW has been a bit takeaway heavy lately. They gave four takeaways against Colorado, and WSU's looking for that. So if UW wants to run the ball a lot, that gives them a lot of chances to rip the ball out. Dylan Morris is not very reliable. Did I say Dylan Morris? Dylan Moore? Dylan Morris, yeah. Sorry,
No,
the Mariners
Morris.
and the Mariners.
No, you got
watched too many Mariners this year.
You got
that
it.
gave me like pause there. Dylan Morris, yeah, he's not he's not super reliable with the ball. He's thrown 12 picks this year in 363 attempts. That's not good. That's a pick every 30 attempts. That means he's probably going to throw one each game, or he could throw a couple. And this is a defense that looks for that stuff. So ideally, I hope the defense gets 3 turnovers from UW. Hopefully setting us up in some good scoring positions or preventing them from scoring. That UW had that problem against Colorado. They missed out on some points because they turned it over, in scoring position. It's really, we talked about, I messaged you earlier about Arizona. WSU had the ball 4 times inside the 40, and they scored all 4 times. And UW struggled. What?
That's really good efficiency.
I'm sorry, they scored touchdowns all 4 times. Like that's the most important part. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's because that's 28 points. Like, because if you get inside the 40 4 times, that's good. But you don't always expect to get a touchdown every time. And they did. And so that sort of efficiency against UW will be big, and it's going to be big on both sides. If WSU, because WSU's defense bends, there ain't no doubt about that. They bent against Arizona, but they've been decent at getting off the field. We've talked about it over and over again, and if they can do that against UW, force a turnover, get in a 4th down situation, make that big 4th and 1, 4th and 2 stop, whatever. That's going to be huge. And then if WSU can just finish its drive with points, which it honestly has done really a poor job in the Apple Cup in a long time. And I hate saying the other teams have any bearing on this team, but honestly, like, it's hard to not think about the other games or whatever. What you can hope is that, I don't know. It seems like there's some sort of mental issue with this game with the Cougs.
Yep.
And hopefully with multiple coaching changes that there's something different. And they're not just going to fold at the first sign of, or they're not just going to play poorly. Like, they've just played poorly in this game so many times. It's so frustrating. It's like, why couldn't you just play better? Like 2015, I get it. You had your backup quarterback have a turnover fest, whatever. But Luke Falk was there in 2016. All of our defensive guys were there in 2016. That didn't work out. 2017, we had our guys. That didn't work out. Obviously Craig Kraft, I think, was out in 2017, but most of the other guys are there. Matafo's there, whatever. 2018, I'll be one of those guys that blames it on the weather, but whatever. But still, they got run over too. When UW wanted to run, they ran. And so if you get schemed out of it too, that's fucking annoying. If the other team just is smarter about what they do than you are, that's annoying. So I just hope they come out and they're smarter about things. They're the team that is doing the right stuff in the bad weather or whatever. Like in the situational plays. If they're the team that we got some fucking dogs on the offensive line, like, no pun intended. There's we can mash them. Their defensive line is nothing special this year.
Yep.
We can push them back. We can move the ball on the ground. We can keep Jaden upright. Let him find some dudes downfield. Like, there's no reason that can happen. Our offensive line is a strength. And for once, their defensive line is not a strength. So hopefully, if things play out the way they should, given these teams' relative strengths, this should be a close game, like you said. And so we just have to hope that for once in these goddamn Apple Cups, that some things go our way, and we don't get overwhelmed by the moment, and come out on top. Because I'm just fucking sick of losing this game. Like, I'm so fucking sick of it. It's ruined my enjoyment of what should be a fun rivalry. Like, we lose a lot, but it's one thing to lose 2 out of every 3. It's another thing to lose, 7 in a row at this point? All of them? And then not be even competitive very often in those games?
Like, that's the issue more than anything, is just being non-competitive for the most part. Just showing up and just shitting your pants and just being like, I'm like, we suck, and we're just going to pee down our leg for 3 hours. That's the hardest part to stomach, right? And it's because it's not just losing. I mean, you can deal with, so part of what makes the rivalry, a rivalry is that, we encounter people all the time who are, Husky fans, right? Either people who went to Washington or people who are fans of Washington, right? In my job, you probably don't encounter as many in your job, but in my job, I encounter lots.
Although,
I also have students.
Yeah. After you say this, sorry, but I have a really.
I was gonna say, I have students who wear Husky gear because they know it tweaks me.
I mean, you kind of bring that
and so
on. If you're gonna be full on Coug.
Totally. Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
I totally do. I got Coug stuff all over my room. Like, I get it. Like that doesn't bother me. But it's like, okay, so I'm surrounded by these people. And it's one thing when it's like, oh man, hard fought game and we lost. That's such a bummer. It's another thing when it's like embarrassing, like the manner in which you lose is fairly embarrassing. As we deal with things like, obviously this hasn't really been the case, but we deal with like the C word and whatever, that I absolutely despise. It's just sort of like, like at least make it competitive. But as Husky fans are wont to do, they are already making excuses for this year. Already like, oh man, if you can't beat us this year, which of course is just setting them up for, if we win, then it's like, well, good job, you guys were better. And if we don't win, then it's, you guys suck. You can't even beat the worst Husky team like forever. So it's really a no-win situation. But really all I'm looking for is to not be, made to feel shame. That's kind of what I'm looking for. And so I guess if we, put up a good fight, and even if we lose, at least make it something we can hang our hat on a little bit. And I'll be okay with that.
I will say there's probably not a loss you can hang your hat on this year, because they're going to talk shit, because they're like, oh, we're so bad and you lost to us.
Yeah, you're probably right.
We could lose by a point, and they'd be like, whoa.
Losing as the favorite is the worst. That's for sure in this rivalry.
Are they the favorite? Well, they didn't open as the favorite. Vegas has figured us out.
I think they might be now.
They might be now.
They opened, Huskies minus whatever, and then like people kind of jumped on that. So
which is like teams are even, home team gets 3.
Right.
Basically.
Right, so I'm looking while you talk, I'm looking it up to see what it is now.
So I have something
that's
pretty funny. I have a coworker who is from Australia, but has lived in the U.S. for a long time, and he knows that he's always fascinated by me going, having season tickets to this. He's always brings it up in meetings. Like, Craig has season tickets, and like why I'm always gone for like the Friday meeting or whatever. Like, he has season tickets to a team that is 5 hours away. Like, he always says, he always points that out.
That's my man.
But awesome. When I got out of a call with this morning on Monday morning, like he just goes like, so like, could you actually see the game? Like, so he went and like looked at the highlights and saw that it was foggy, and then he goes, so if you guys beat University of Washington and Oregon State beats Oregon, you guys win the Pac-12 North. I was like, hell yeah, man! Like I got you into it. Like, you're into it now, and I'm sorry, but you're into it. So it's pretty funny that you could just I talk about it a little bit, but I think he just became so fascinated that, because he's from Australia, but he's lived much of his recent life in the Boston area, where you don't really drive very many hours to go anywhere, like maybe 2 hours to go somewhere or whatever, so it's not like going a long drive, but he's just fascinated. Like, oh, you drive 10 hours a weekend to go to these games? I'm like, yeah, I do. It's just kind of a thing I do. The way there's fine. The way there back is terrible.
Yeah, the way back is a slog.
That's the hard one. Yeah. You're excited on the way there. You're hungover on the way back. That's the hard part. But yeah, so that was pretty funny. My Australian colleague, I got him looking at the Pac-12 North championship scenarios. So I was very proud of that. Jeff, I have bad news for you.
What's that?
We have to pick this game.
Oh, God damn it.
So, with an allowable sense of precaution, I'll say, give me your first half score.
I'm thinking cagey and mistake filled in the first half, 10-10.
10-10.
Tie game.
All right, so I'm thinking, pretty similarly, but I think WSU will come out a little bit better in the first half. Maybe just like a missed extra point, and it's 13-10, and we're gonna maybe come to rue that missed extra point later.
Ugh. Okay.
So, Jeff, what's your final score?
Oh, fuck. All right. I believe we're going to explode in the second half. We're going to outscore Washington 21-0 in the second half. It's going to be 31-10, and we are dancing on into the evening on Friday night, waiting for Oregon State on Saturday, which then goes ahead and breaks our heart with a fourth quarter collapse.
No one asked about that, Jeff. No one asked about that.
That's what I'm fully expecting. I'm fully expecting we hold up our end of the bargain and Oregon State can't
Honestly,
do the
well,
job.
I'd much rather us hold up the end of the bargain than Oregon State.
Yes, I would. I would too. But that's kind of how I'm feeling. If we win the game, Oregon State's going to lose. If we lose the game, Oregon State's going to win. That's just how this rolls. That's just how this goes. So we're going to win though, Craig. I'm feeling it. We're going to win.
We're worried.
I've been as pessimistic as anybody about this team all fucking year. We are going to win.
All right. So, 13-10. We're worried that the extra point is going to matter, but it doesn't. It doesn't.
It doesn't.
Because Dylan Moore just fucking sucks it up in the second half. Just a piece of shit. And we step up and UW gets like a shitty bullshit touchdown, but we score 2 more touchdowns, 27-17 Cougs. We fucking win. We, obviously we cover. We're all happy. I could not pick UW in a fucking apple cup, even though we do the start of the season shit.
Yes,
and I know we've probably picked against the Cougs in apple cup before. I don't know, but maybe not. I don't think we.
No. I don't know about you. I gave us a 0% chance to win this game at the beginning of the season.
I also gave us a 0% chance.
As I always do. So
I give us a 1% chance to win this game, and I predict us to win 27-17. So take that, everyone. No. Yeah, 27-17 Cougs. I'm venturing out too. I'm gonna watch with some friends and not be by myself. even though that's what I've been telling myself I was going to do all year. Because honestly, I'm going to be less bothered by it, I think, this year. Because like you said, even if we win, it requires another like big win for us to do anything. We already got the bowl eligibility, but I do, it's scarier that we have the stakes, but also it's kind of funny. Cheers to Oregon fans. I saw that tweet from an Oregon fan that said, like, raise your hand if you're from the Pacific Northwest and you still have a chance to win the to go to the Rose Bowl or to win the Rose Bowl. So, Oregon State and UW or WSU could all raise their hand. UW cannot. So UW could talk all their shit, but whatever they do in this game, they ain't doing shit the rest of the year. They have no other games to play. So you guys lost your coach too. This is the interim bowl. This will go down in history as the interim bowl, and I hope WSU wins. I hope we're all celebrating, and I can finally crack my 2012 Bourbon Abominable to celebrate. That would be great.
Damn, I'm gonna have to find you wherever you are if that happens.
Yeah,
might have to drive or something.
I'll let you know,
and then have somebody drive me home.
Well, you're gonna be with people, so you'll have somebody.
That is true.
You.
I am. Yes.
I'm guessing you're planning on having Sarah drive.
Yeah, I think that's probably what's going to happen. It's the biggest thing I would say is this, do lots of joking and, whatever. But in all seriousness, this group of seniors, I would want nothing more for them than to go out with a win in the Apple Cup. We know that, fairy tales don't always end the way we want. 2018, is sort of the most recent example of that. So, obviously things don't always end the way we want, but, these guys have, as you mentioned, they've been through so much, coaching changes, two teammates die. They've just been through, COVID, a whole hell of a lot. And it's not just they deserve to win this game. But it's, it's a sense that people tend to, I think, ascribe too much credit and probably too much blame also to coaches. Right. Right now, a lot of people seem to be viewing, the events of the past, the results of the past month through the lens of, what Jake Dickert is doing and what Brian Smith is doing and, all this. And, I really think that in large measure, that is just this is a faulty analysis. It's these players. It's the players, and it's always been the players, and it will always be the players. But in particular, it really is these players. And, these are guys, when you look at the constant, right? Like, the turnaround was happening before Nick Rolovich got fired, right? Like they had turned that ship around. And then now it's just continuing under Jake Dickert. These guys have been successful now under 3 different coaches, which tells me that it's really about them and it's really about these guys. And I think that these guys are a more special group than I gave them credit for at the beginning of the year. When I sort of thought they were, cruising for, 4 or 5 wins. Well, they've got 6 wins with a shot at 7. And through some fortuitous circumstances, they've got, a shot at a Pac-12 championship. Yep. And if we're being real, there's no if not for essentially coaching malpractice against Utah State, they would have won that game. So we can sort of pin that on the coaches, even if we can't, maybe give the coaches the credit for it.
The BYU game too.
Yeah. And then the BYU game, same deal,
crazy week,
right? Like they probably win that game if it's not like that insane week. So, these players, I think, are the ones that, deserve the credit. They deserve the accolades. They deserve our admiration for what they've done. And I think that these guys are special enough to pull it out in the Apple Cup. So I'm super excited about that. And even though, apple cups give me ulcers and make me just twist me up in knots, and I have such a difficult time with them, these guys, I think they don't just deserve it. I think they're going to go out and earn it. And I think that's going to be an exciting way for them to finish their career, lifting that trophy in the middle of Husky Stadium.
Well, Jeff, because of that beautiful soliloquy right there, I actually have a confession to make. I have to tell you something.
Okay.
I'm going to the game. I wasn't going to tell you, but it's
you're like, wait, I'm going out with some friends, and we're gonna have a good time.
So yeah, I got a nice group of like 10 Cougs, so there's a nice buffer. I'll try to make sure to sit in the middle of them.
See, that's a solid way to do it, though, man. If you got like 10 people going with you, and y'all can, you're right, you got each other's back if you need to fight anybody.
Yeah,
I think that's the way to go.
So yeah, I do. I've talked till I didn't. I'm never going to Husky Stadium again. All this stuff.
Yeah,
but it's exactly like you say. Like, these guys deserve it, man. They deserve me to be there yelling and screaming.
Man, I don't blame you.
They deserve my support.
That's awesome.
And it's I made it was not easy, when I was talking to my friends I'm going with, the group, the Logans, all them that I always hang out with in Pullman and stuff, and they were like, oh yeah, we're going, and I'm like, how can you guys do that? It's so miserable. The UW fans are so terrible. And like if you'd asked me on Saturday night, I was no, and then I was just thinking about how I was feeling about these players and how special they've been this season and what they've been through, and then the older players, what they've been through for multiple seasons and what they've done. And if I can't get over my like little bit of insecurity about being at the game, and truthfully, the last time it was a miserable experience, and it could be again, but I'll be there, and I'll be screaming and yelling and hopefully talking shit to UW fans. And we're in like the fourth row, so maybe, I don't know, jumping on that field and dancing on that W. I don't know, maybe that seems to be like a tradition for Cougs, right? Yep. So yeah, I'm gonna sit in the rain for 3 hours and hopefully, or 4 hours, and hopefully be super happy by the end. And I was like, I drive, like we said, like 5 hours, I drive 5 hours round trip to go watch these guys. 6 times this year. I missed the one because of the wedding. Generally 6 to 7 times a year. Why can't I just suck it up and drive the 45 minutes north and go to the game? And I will not be covered in my seats as I usually am at WSU, but I'll suck it up for that. I'll make sure I wear the right gear. But yeah, so I'm not saying I'm excited to go, but I look forward to.
You'll have fun with all the people you're with, though.
Yeah, I will, definitely. And then I have other friends that'll be. Zane's going to be there. My friends Marty and Corey will be there. They'll be in a different section, but I'll be going up with them. And so, just I have so many people that are going that I'll see before, I'll see during, I'll see after, I'll see around, halftime, whatever. It'll make it a nice experience. And then just hopefully it's where it's like I went against my better judgment and it totally worked out, and they win, and it's like one of those days that I never forget. And like you said, I feel like these guys got it in them, and with an allowable sense of precaution, I feel like they can win this game, and I really hope they do, because they deserve it, and Jihad deserves that win, Justice and Travell and all those guys that have been around for a long time, Liam and Abe and everyone. There's a lot more we can name, but they've lost the Huskies a lot, and if there's a year, it's gotta end this year. So come on, go end it, guys. Max, run all over them. Dion, run all over them. Jaden, make some plays in their face, and let's fucking beat the Huskies, and let's win the goddamn Apple Cup.
Yeah, that's how I'm feeling. Let's do it. You're a braver man than I, Craig, which we already knew, but
Hey, dude, you're gonna go watch the game somewhere in Seattle with
That is
people
true.
who will
But
be
I'm gonna
rooting
go to
for UW. So
if I do, I'm going to a Coug friendly bar. Like there's no. Now I won't take our friends to Marco Polo. Like I don't want them to die.
Oh yeah, they would.
I don't want them to get assaulted. So I'm not gonna do that. But I will go to a Coug friendly, probably the Roanoke. That's kind of what I'm thinking is heading to the Roanoke. So do a Coug friendly place, and that way, it's a safe space for this little snowflake over here, and I can enjoy myself, and if it doesn't go well, then at least I'm not wanting to fight anybody. So.
And I will say, you guys might have thought that was theater, but I really wasn't going to tell Jeff that I was going to the game because I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear him be like, "Oh well, woe is me," blah blah blah. It's going to be terrible. But after he said all that, I couldn't resist.
Yeah, no. I think
your surprising positivity and sentimentality, Jeff. I couldn't. I know. Obviously I shouldn't be surprised that you're sentimental.
I'll tell you part of it right now is so I'm decorating my basement. Finally, I've had you've been to my house. I have I have like 4 or 5 boxes of memorabilia just like sitting in the corner since we moved in like 5 years ago that I have never like put up. And I am putting it all up. And so tonight I was putting up a whole bunch of Coug stuff, including a framed picture that I have. It's not a picture, a framed front page of the Daily Evergreen from the Rose Bowl season that I have. I have a framed picture of the Rose Bowl. I have a picture that my brother took of Gary Holmes absolutely splattering Brock Heward in the 97 Apple Cup. I am just in a good pro Coug, good times mood, feeling like, yeah, let's go. Like we can do, we have won. We have won at Husky Stadium before. It has happened, and it was fucking awesome.
I have been there. In 2005, I was there, and we rushed the goddamn Husky Stadium field.
That's right. I have been in the middle of the field, jumping up and down.
Well, your circumstances are way cooler, but
that is true. It was pretty cool, but I've been there. I've done it. It can be done. It can be done, Craig. We can do this. We can do this.
The bad men are gone.
That's right. Chris Peter. Hey, I mean, I wrote like years, I don't know, whatever, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, whatever it was. But it just kind of went like, so much, a lot was made of Mike Leach being unable to beat Chris Peterson, right? And I just felt like that was all just like way overblown. I just felt like it was just really bad timing. Like we talk a lot about randomness and sequencing when we talk about games and things like that. And it's like, I honestly, truly at this point believe that was so much of what, Mike Leach's issue with Chris Peterson was and winning the Apple Cup was. It wasn't things like, he didn't really care about the Apple Cup, the one game at a time thing. Like I didn't believe any of that. I truly believe that Mike Leach wanted to win that fucking game as much as anybody. But I just think, they had an offense that was a passing offense, and that's what they do. And they were facing, a string of defenses that were among the best passing defenses in I don't want to say Pac-12 history, but really, really, really good.
Definitely in the country in those respective years.
Yeah.
They were definitely the best in the Pac-12 each of those years.
Yeah. It was a really bad matchup, and the guys that they had on the defensive line, they could drop 8 and rush 3 and still stop the run because they had just absolute wreckers up front. I mean, you look at what Vita Vea is doing to actual NFL offensive linemen right now, and it's like, so good luck, right? Like, and we've kind of noticed that as time has gone on, WCU's offensive line is, as we've realized, is kind of, they were recruited to do a thing, and that was to drop back. Right. So anyway, it just, like you said, the bad man is gone. Chris Peterson's gone. Jimmy Lake is gone. Even if Jimmy Lake was there, the defense is, a shell of what it was. I mean, the pass defense is still okay, but, probably above average, but certainly not at the elite level that it was. We've seen other teams put up points on Washington. It can be done. Arizona State did it recently. Cal did it. I mean, it's... I mean, you saw what Cal and Arizona State did against us, which was not much. Both those teams went into Seattle and did it. So it is doable. This team is beatable. These seniors, I think, this group led by these seniors, I think are ready to go and finally, for once, fucking snatch that trophy away and put it back in the Cougar football building or whatever it's called.
It's never been in there. It's never.
Yeah,
it's never been in that trophy case
since the place is opened. Back in its rightful place. It's coming home. I said that
it's
just
coming home.
Just for Kevin and other people who don't like that phrase, but that's all right. I don't think Kevin, if Kevin listens, I don't think he'll make it to 145 anyway. So
yeah. So just remember, Jeff, when you're titling this episode, put Apple Cup in it for all the clicks.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, just please just do it, guys. Just go win. I'm so tired of losing this game. I'm so tired of it.
Yeah.
I'm so tired of it being something that I can't even remotely enjoy just because I'm not allowed to, the scar tissue. But, we could fix all that. Just with this win and then we can just have this be the most interested in the Civil War, although it's not called that anymore technically, in the Civil War than we've ever been, and watch that game on Saturday and root for the Beavs as hard as we can. So let's go do that. Let's win the Apple Cup and let's be the biggest Beav fans in the world. That'll be super, super crazy because there would be nothing funnier than a 7-5 WSU team going to the Pac-12 championship. So
I agree.
And I want Utah. I want Utah again. I want Utah with Jaden DeLora. So let's do that. Let's get him back with Jaden DeLora. Yeah, you guys got us with Garantano. It ain't the same. It's not the same.
No.
But yeah, so I guess that's briefly. I guess soccer lost in the NCAA tournament. They missed some chances early, and then Tennessee kind of took control later and got the goals. Could have been worse. Nadia Cooper made some pretty good saves in the second half to preserve the 2-0 loss. But that was a bummer. But a nice run, hell of a run to the second round of the NCAA tournament. It's funny that is now disappointing for them.
I know.
There's only one other program at WSU where that would be disappointing, and that's the volleyball team. Yep. And but yeah, hell of a run. Looking for them to reload next year. Another great recruiting class to be good again. And Tennessee was a tough team. They were a good team.
Yeah. What was frustrating about it was, one thing I said, in our Slack was, this, it was kind of getting late in the game. And I was like, if this is the way they lose, it'll be fairly poetic. They had some really great chances in the first half. They were in on goal a couple times, just point blank, just needed a well-placed shot to beat the keeper. Played in behind the defense and just couldn't finish. And that was an issue from the start of the season to the end of the season.
At least in one-on-one situations.
They just were not clinical in front of goal. They were a little bit more, they were a little more like a blunt force object, right?
Just
kind of
hammering
away
as we can.
Yep. Just put as many chances on frame as you can. 20 shots, 15, 20 shots, and maybe one or two of them go in. We're just going to keep knocking on that door and keep hammering away. It's at some point when you play better teams, you really need a little bit of that clinical finishing ability, and they just didn't really have that. And they have some really exciting young attacking talent. Obviously they're graduating some really good players in Elise Bennett and Studer and Makia Menes and Sydney Pulver, I think, is a senior as well. So they're graduating some really good players, but they're also, when we look at their attacking band and their midfielders, they do bring back a lot of talent as well. And you think with some experience that those guys is getting better. I know that, we've sort of, mentioned this back and forth a little bit, but it's hard not to imagine what this team would have been with Trinity Rodman up front.
I watched her in person a couple weeks ago, man. It was,
beat the rain.
Yeah, she was pretty impactful, and she was at NWSL Best 11.
Yeah. And they end up winning the championship.
They end up winning the championship. She's an essential part of that. She had 6 goals, 6 assists in the regular season. She was one of the top players in minutes in the entire NWSL. So she's just one of the best players in the NWSL.
Yeah.
And she was supposed to be at WSU.
I think it's worth pointing out to people as well that, the NWSL is one of the best women's soccer leagues in the world. People don't, I think, maybe totally realize that because they don't typically think of American soccer leagues as being that. But in the women's soccer world, a lot of the best players in the world are here for this season. And so to have her go in as a rookie and play as well as she did and be a best 11 player and just, play in a world where, most of the best women's soccer players are older. They're not super young. So for her to come in and take the league by storm in that fashion is just, she is a special talent, man.
I've
fuck
said it.
COVID for stealing her from us.
Yeah, I said it to. I think I said on Twitter. I said to a lot of people this weekend. I think they would be undefeated if they had Trinity. No offense to the players on the team, but she's very clearly a world-class player. Because honestly, the team's defense was so good. If you just had that one,
superlative player,
she's fast. She's physical. She has great service. She's a great finisher. She had another goal that was called back because of offside, but she still finished it amazingly in the one match I watched. It's a what could have been, but also good for her for balling out.
Yep, 100%. No,
it worked out well for her. Honestly,
that. Absolutely.
She probably would have played in college for 4 years. So
yeah, as you watch the Cougs, it's just they just.
Although I'll tell you, if you know those NWSL salaries, she ain't getting paid very much.
Yeah, so. She's not. But you watch the Cougs and you just thought, if they had someone who could finish a little more clinically. I don't think it's a coincidence that their big run 2 years ago was with Morgan Weaver up top, who is a regular starter in the NWSL as well now. So. They'll be all right. I think Margie DiTrizio is a really exciting player.
Yeah.
I think she's got, just stud scorer, number 9 written all over her. And, I think this team will be back as strong as ever next year. They've got another really strong recruiting class coming in. They're going to continue to be good. So they're not going anywhere. They're here to stay. And so, yeah. It's a bummer they lost Tennessee. Tennessee, I think, was underseeded, to be honest. That was a really good team. As we looked at the seeding, I think we talked about this.
They were the highest RPI 3 seed.
Yep. They the seeding basically went along RPI. Somebody got the highest RPI 3 seed, and Tennessee was that. I think they could have very easily been a 2 seed. But it's the way it goes. There's no easy games after you get past that first one, and they just couldn't quite do it against Tennessee, even though they tried. They put on the pressure and they just could not break through, which is a bummer.
I'll say quickly, we'll talk about volleyball. They made a huge step in getting to the NCAA tournament this year, in beating Oregon without Pia Timmer on Thursday. Big win. They got the first 2 sets. That was during the WC basketball game, so I had to make a decision. But I watched the highlights. Looks like they had a good crowd there too, and they huge win to get without one of your best players and to beat a top 15 team, and then sweep the Beavers on Sunday. Shows the strength of that program, and then they of course get to move up 1 whole spot in the coaches poll to 21st from 22nd. After beating a top 15 team without your best player, but whatever. Hopefully Pia can get back. I don't know what I believe I saw Jamie Vinnick say that she didn't look like she was in a boot or anything. So hopefully she can get back by postseason or something, because it looks like, I mean, they seem to have a resume built up pretty good at this point to get them there. With that Oregon win was huge. So hopefully they can finish it. They got UW this weekend. Yeah. Yeah, if you feel like you go to Apple Cup on Friday and then go to the Boeing Apple Cup Series volleyball match on Saturday at UW. So, Jeff, if you want a lighter venue to go watch the Cougs play UW, you can go do that if you want. But yeah, so they have that this weekend. They've obviously beat them this year. That was one of the wins that'll get them in the tournament. So UW's tough, so that'll be a tough one. But huge to get the sweep this week. Awesome program again. They just keep doing their thing. Jen Greeny has built a hell of a thing there, and it's pretty fun.
Yeah. Yep.
Jeff's yep. And then so I think with that I'll say, if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at the Craig Powers. On Instagram, I'm at Craig W Powers. Jeff is at Pod VS Everyone on Twitter. If you want to send us an email question, Brian, I saw the questions. I kind of forgot about them though as we were recording. I'll get them to him later. I'll just answer them in person, man. I don't care. But if you want to have your question answered, podcast versus everyone at email.com. Not email.com. I don't even know if that's a domain people get anymore. Podcast versus everyone at gmail.com. Sorry, I had a 11% beer. So go beat the fucking Huskies and go Cougs.
Yes. Go Cougs, Craig. Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
Get fucking vaccinated.
Get that shot.